Okay, we're here with Jessica and we're going to take you through a little morning routine that you could do. This is also really nice to do at night before you go to bed. And our goal is to work through the mobility and the movements of the lower back and also the hips. So we're going to start with bringing one knee up to the chest. So we're working hip flexion with one leg, and if you're comfortable you can stretch the other leg out nice and long. And just hold here and breathe. You want to focus on trying to soften the front of the hip that's coming up towards the chest, and also pulling the knee straight up to the chest, and just have a little look down because it has a tendency to go out towards the armpit. So you want to just fine tune that position, bringing it straight up towards the chest. And then let's switch to the other side. So she brings one leg down, pulls the other leg up towards the chest, tries to soften through the front of the hip that she's stretching, reaching the other leg nice and long. And if that's not comfortable for you to have the other leg straight, you can also bend that knee and have the foot flat on the floor. You can also have a pillow to put under your head if you prefer. So just holding that position and taking some nice slow deep breaths. Okay, and to finish off the hip stretch, it can feel nice to bring both knees up to the chest as well to help open up through the lower back. And again, supporting the leg position with the arms and just working on breathing. And here, lying down, it's nice to think about breathing into the back and sides of the ribs, so you're getting a little deeper breath than you normally would. Okay, and let's bring both knees down towards, or both feet down onto the floor, and just let the arms rest out to the side. And she's gonna bring the knees side to side together at the same time. So both knees are gonna go to the right, bringing in some rotation for the lower back, and then she's going to use the abdominals to help pull the legs back through the center, and then rotate both legs to the left. Okay, and this should feel comfortable. So Jessica's only going as far as her lower back feels pain-free. If she gets to a point where there's pain, she's going to give herself a little bit more support with the abdominals, so tighten up the core more and do a smaller movement next time. So going back and forth just slowly and easily, trying to keep the hips and legs a little relaxed while keeping some tone and support through the lower abdominals. She can also add in some neck motion if she likes, so as the knees go to the right, she's going to bring her gaze to the left, so getting more of a spiral motion happening through the whole spine. And then switching to the other side. So we're working hip and lower back movement together. And then let's pause in the middle. We're going to work on hip external rotation and a stretch using our pretzel stretch. So bringing one foot over the opposite knee. For some people this will be enough of a stretch, and you can give a little bit of support with the hand helping to open up the top hip, making sure that you're not pushing into pain. For others, you may need more stretch or a deeper position here, so you can reach underneath and grab the bottom knee, pulling that knee towards the chest, but still focusing on keeping the upper leg nice and open and the hip open. And once she finds this position, again, going back to focusing on taking nice, slow, deep breaths. And then also varying the position a little bit, so finding a different angle. Maybe that's going to feel like a deeper or a better stretch, or target the area where you need. Okay, and ideally we're feeling the stretch behind the hip of the leg that's on top. And then let's switch to the other side. So starting out with the more basic position where you cross the foot over the knee and keep the foot on the floor. This may be enough stretch, and if you feel like you need more, you can bring both legs up, supporting the bottom leg, and just holding that, fine-tuning the position, so maybe bringing the legs a little closer towards you or to the side or the other side. Feel where you feel the most stretch. Keep the top hip open. And then just make sure you're holding the weight of the legs so that the legs can really relax and rest into the hands. And lastly, focusing back on the breath. Okay, let's switch over onto our hands and knees. So transition through the side, and then push yourself up down to hands and knees. We're going to go to some spine mobility, so cat and cow. As Jessica exhales, she's going to curl the spine up towards the ceiling into a cat position. And then as she inhales, she'll reverse into a cow. Okay, and don't be in a hurry to go into your maximum movement. The first few, I would just start out nice and gentle and small, getting the movement of the spine, especially if this is the first thing you're doing in the morning when you get up. There's a lot of different things that you can focus on here as you do the cat and cow. Number one would be your breath. So using the exhale to contract the abdominals and pull the ribs in and tuck the bum underneath you for your cat stretch. So exhale and cat. And then inhale is going to be more of a releasing and relaxing and softening breath as you gently let the spine go into extension and relax the belly and soften the shoulder blades for your cow. Okay, keep going with that movement, just maintaining that focus on the breath. Exhale for your cat stretch. Really trying to tuck the bum underneath you and round through the lower back as you push through the arms and pull through the abdominals. And inhale as you reverse to cow. And the arms stay straight as we do this. They don't have to be locked in straight. We want a little tiny softness or bend to the elbows, but straight arms to help us get this nice pushing position and this nice support. Okay, and then let's pause in a neutral spine position here. So the spine is nice and long, maintaining its natural curves, and we're going to work on hip extension. So straightening one leg out. Jessica's staying in neutral spine, and she's going to lift the leg up with the goal of trying to get the leg in line with the body. And then she's going to bring the leg back down just to touch the foot onto the floor. And then work again on extending the leg back up. So you can see that all of the movement is happening from Jessica's hip. Her spine is staying long and neutral, including the neck, so her gaze stays down at the mat. And she's working on moving the hip joint. To do this, she's going to squeeze her bum muscles. She's going to use the abdominal muscles to support the lower back in neutral so that she can isolate this movement just to the hip joint. One mistake we commonly make when we're on our hands and knees is we start to shift too much weight forward. Okay, so then it's harder for her to stay in a nice position. There's a lot of load on the wrist, so I'm going to ask Jessica to shift herself back so that the wrists are underneath the shoulders or even slightly behind. If you have soreness in the wrists and this position is hard for you, even having the shoulders behind the wrist so there's less of an angle can be nice. Okay, let's switch to the other side. So the core muscles are going to stay engaged as we do this switch, so it's going to help us stay in neutral. And then she's going to work her hip extension on this side. One thing that may happen, if you're trying to lift the leg really high, you may start to actually rotate the whole pelvis. Yeah, so you can see how Jessica's pelvis is rotating towards us. We want to make sure the pelvis stays square to the mat. Okay, and also if you try and lift the leg too high, you'll start to arch the lower back. So there she's lost her neutral spine position. So both things are important and both things are maintained by keeping a good connection and contraction with the abdominals. Okay, one cue that may be helpful for you is to keep the ribs in. So yeah, that's good, Jessica. Show me lifting the leg and letting the ribs drop or stick out. So the ribs came down, but she also arched at the same time. So for Jessica, thinking about keeping the ribs in is very helpful for her to stay in a neutral spine position. Okay, let's do a couple more. And once you get all of the fine-tuning of the position down, then again, go back to focusing on your breath. So you can inhale with one movement and then exhale with the other movement. Okay, we're going to go into a shell stretch next, which is nice to do after this to give the little rest for the arms. So she's going to round her back up first into a cat stretch and then sit back towards the heels, trying to maintain the rounded position of the spine. If you want to feel a little more stretch through the shoulders and the sides of the waist, you can reach the arms more forward, still trying to stay rounded. So there should be a little space or sense of space between the chest and the thighs, so you haven't completely just rested on the front of the thighs. And she's going to keep breathing here and focusing on breathing into the back and sides of the ribs because they're nice and open in this shell stretch position. And then we're just going to modify this shell stretch by adding in a side bend. So walking both hands over to the side as far as you can. So as Jessica walks her hands over to the right, she's going to get more stretch on the left side of the trunk. And as she walks the hands to the right, she's going to keep her bum in the center, right, lined up with the heels. And she can even straighten her arms out and reach the arms a little bit more if she wants to feel a little more stretch. And focus on breathing into the ribs, especially the left side of the rib cage, which is nice and open in this position. And then let's switch to the other side, walking both hands to the left. And you can see how the change of the focus of the stretch is into the right side of the rib cage and trunk, and she's going to change the focus of her breath into the right side. 2 more big breaths here. And then come on back to the middle, and it's nice after this series just to finish with a few more little cats and cows. So coming back up to hands and knees, exhaling as you curl into your cat stretch, and then inhaling as you reverse to cow. Okay, so this is a great routine that you can do in the morning, and also maybe something to try before you go to bed at night, just working on all of the movements of the spine and the hips, and it's nice and gentle and a nice slow pace so you can focus on your breath as well.